Today I'm going to be discussing my top 5 most underrated books because they're underrated. I need to read them because they're amazing. Okay, so my first underrated book is The Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. Okay, I'm joking, don't kill me. No, I'm not saying it's overrated. I'm not saying it's got much more hype than it deserves. I love the Hunger Games series. I just thought that was very funny, and I actually can't find the Hunger Games, so I'm using Catching Fire. So yes, moving on to the actual first book of my list. So this is Hunting Lila by Sarah Alderson. To be honest, this is one of my favourite books of all time. I love it so much. Like, you have no idea how much I've read this. I read this so many more times than it suggests, because doesn't look that worn or anything, but because I read it so fast every time I read it, it doesn't look as worn as it could. So basically, Hunting Lila is about a girl called Lila. She's the protagonist, and she's an American girl living in London with her British father after her American mother was murdered 5 years before. And she has an older brother, but he stayed in America with his best friend Alex, who Lila is in love with. It says that on the back, so that's not a spoiler. It's on the back, look, there you go. Is that okay? On the back. Yes. And basically it starts where she is mugged by these two muggers. She discovers that she has this kind of power where she can move things without touching them. She freaks out, she goes to her brother in California and she stays with him for a little bit, and all this amazing action business starts, and it is phenomenal. It is like, I don't know how to describe it because it's so many like genres mixed into one. It's a romance, a thriller, an action, a spy drama, and it is a paranormal at the same time. It is absolutely marvellous, and I definitely recommend Hunting Lila by Sarah Alderson. And Sarah happens to be one of the loveliest people on this planet. She's replied to me on Twitter so many times I can't count, and I just love how she takes her time out of her busy writing schedule just to reply to annoying fans like me. So you definitely have to check this out. The sequel is called Losing Lila, and she may or may not write a third one, so she's got a lot of other books out. Read them. The second one is You Against Me by Jenny Downham. She's rather famous for Before I Die, which is her debut book. I didn't enjoy Before I Die, it was rather dull, but You Against Me is one of, seriously, like, this book is amazing. And you can literally tell how many times I've read it because the back comes off. The back comes off. I've made all my friends read this. It is amazing and lovely. It's a general fiction, which isn't a genre I usually delve into, but actually another one of these books is a general fiction, which is quite alarming because I'm not really a general fiction girl. It's about this girl called Ellie Parker, who is quite upper class. It's set in the UK, so for any of you American viewers, the terms such as GCSEs and A-levels and college, they might be different where you live, or they might not even make any sense whatsoever. And she is in her last year of secondary school, which is the year I just finished. Her brother is accused of raping a quite common, I don't want to say common because that's kind of mean, slightly chavvy girl who lives in a council flat with her mum, sister and brother, and she meets the brother of the girl her brother raped, basically. But you don't know if he raped her or not until right at the end, and I'm not going to give away if he does or not. So they have a look at a brilliant love story, and basically it's a coming of age, do I betray my family, do I trust my family, for both of the main characters. And Mikey and Ellie is one of the most brilliant love stories I've ever come across, and it literally made me cry. This book is so good, go get it, go buy it. I'll put all these links in the description because you need to read them all. Okay, the third book in my underrated books list is 10 Things We Shouldn't Have Done by Sarah Mlynowski. I know what her last name is, I just can't pronounce it. Mlynowski. I'm guessing it's Mlynowski. Okay, basically, I'm saying basically so much this video. April is the main character. I can't actually remember her last name. Nope, can't remember her last name. Okay. And her dad and her stepmom want to move away to a different town, like 100 miles away or something, and she doesn't want to go because she's got a long-term boyfriend, loads of friends, and she likes her life, and she's like in junior year. So obviously she doesn't want to move. She moves in with her friend Vi, or Violet, One thing her parents don't know is that Vi's mum, is not living with them at the moment. So it's basically two teenage girls left alone in a beach house. Her parents don't know is that Vi's mum, is not living with them at the moment. So it's basically two teenage girls left alone in a beach house, and they get up to some pretty naughty things. It's a very good book. This is just it's a very simple premise, and it is phenomenal. And my mum read it and she said it was brilliant, so that's right there. Fourth on my list is the Sweep series by Kate Tiernan. This isn't the first book in the series because one of my friends currently has the first book. So in these editions I have, there are two books combined because obviously the books are quite short, because this one is still rather short for a book. So I'd guess they're about that much each, which is really short. And this is about Wicca, the witchy thing, and the main character Morgan, she thinks she's a normal girl until one day this boy called Cal, this new guy in school, comes in and gets her friends and all his friends to make a Wicca coven, and it turns out that Morgan is amazing at this witchy stuff and that she can control all the powers of the earth. So she tries to understand how she's such a good witch, and basically it just delves into that world, and it is a very good book. My last book in this video is The Dark Divine by Brie Despain. I don't know about in the US, but this is not a very popular book in the UK. It isn't as good as the rest of them, I have to admit. Like, Hunting Lila is miles away from The Dark Divine, but it is still a horribly underrated book for what it is. It is phenomenal. I admit it's not as good as the rest of them, as I've just said. That doesn't mean it's any worse than it is. It is a brilliant, brilliant book, and it kept me enthralled all the way through to the end. Unfortunately, the second book in the series didn't, so that's a massive shame, but I will give it another go hopefully soon. The premise of this book is there is a girl called Grace whose brother's best friend Daniel used to live with them as a child because his father was abusive. It's about werewolves, so I think you can kind of deduce what happens with this guy called Daniel, and one day he comes back to town like nothing happened, and it is the story of Grace and Daniel as they encounter lots of different things. So that is the end of my underrated books video. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment, rate, subscribe, I guess. Thank you very much. I love you all. Have an amazing week and goodbye. I shall see you again soon.